I want to talk about forgiving yourself as well as forgiving other people. Because many times we blame a lot of people for our emotions. We blame people for how we feel, when truly only we can control how we feel. So the moment we realize that we control our own emotions is the moment that we take control of our lives. So, for example, me personally, I used to blame a lot of people for my happiness, and I used to think things such as that other people could make me mad, and people would do certain things, and I would let certain things outside of me control my inner reality. But I had to understand and understand that I'm the master of my reality, which means that I get power to all things, all conversations, and I choose now not to let my happiness depend on other people. I choose now to not blame other people for how I feel. Because a lot of times we decide that we can't be happy unless we got a certain wardrobe, or we decide that we can't be happy unless people respond to us a certain way. Whereas overall, I always say this: I can't control how other people feel towards me, but I can control how I feel towards me. And how we perceive others only reflects how we perceive ourselves. So now that I'm older, now that I'm wiser, I pay more attention and focus more on how I choose to perceive other people. Because if I'm perceiving them in a negative light, then that can only say something about me, because we can only hate others as much as we know how to hate ourselves. We can only love others as much as we know how to love ourselves. So if I have hate towards you, that means I have to create it within myself to even send it towards you. So we may have situations where a person throw out a negative comment. They may say something to bring us down, but truly they really streaming out for help, and they really trying to show us that they lacking self-love, because how others choose to treat us only shows how they treat themselves. Because many people fear their greatness. Many people don't focus on providing themselves mentally with self-loving motivational thoughts. So they take heed to everybody else's opinion. They try to live up to a certain standard. But your success is not defined by other people's definition of success. So a lot of people in my generation feel like they not successful unless they got a certain amount of money, unless they got a degree. But I always say this, that God isn't going to say a person with 5 degrees or $50 million is more successful than you just because they have those things. So another thing that keeps me confident and keep me motivated is being thankful, because a scientific study shows that the most happiest people are the most grateful people. So a lot of times, a lot of people stress because they focus so much on what they don't have, whereas they forget to focus on what they do have. So God is going to say, why would I give you anything new when you're not thankful for what I have already given you? So why would God give you something new when you're not thankful for what God has already given you? And a lot of times we worry about, us not having the money to pay our bills, or what somebody else is going to say. But see, worry only exists in the future, but the future don't exist. So every time we worry, we're imagining a negative future outcome before it even takes place, because worry only exists in the future. And a lot of times we define ourselves by things outside of us, so therefore we live from the outside in instead of living from the inside out. Because you are the master of your reality. You must master your self-love. Because if anybody opinion matters, that's only because you choose to take heed. You have the choice to walk away. You have the choice to not listen. You have the choice to decide how great today is going to be. You have the choice to determine whether or not you're great or not great, because you decide what makes the greatest moment in your life the greatest moment. And if it's not, it's only because you decided that it's not. because every moment is great because you make it great. When you put on your shirt, you make the shirt the shirt. When you put on your shoes, you make the shoes the shoes. When you walk into a room, you make the room the room. When you listen and take heed to a person's conversation, you make their conversation important. My words don't mean nothing without you listening. So no matter what it is up in life, you give power to all things. If somebody can say something to hurt your self-esteem, if somebody can say something to make your day bad, it's only because you allowed them. Because it's like the saying goes, a person can't make you feel a certain way without your permission, without your approval. So you must question yourself, what are you deciding? Because I decide more than often, I decide mainly, most of the time I decide not to let my happiness depend on other people. But I'm a human, I let my happiness depend on people sometimes. Sometimes I lack confidence. But see, the root of all evil comes from a lack of self-acceptance, because if you don't accept yourself, you don't love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, you're not able to love other people. So those people who don't accept themselves, instead they hate themselves. So therefore they display hate towards other people. But I always say this: when you allow yourself to make mistakes, you allow yourself to grow. From mistakes you gain wisdom. So you are not your mistakes. You can recreate yourself every second. Every second is a new second. And you woke up today. Some people didn't. You have a divine rare presence. Everything is different because you exist. Because you must question yourself, what's going to be different because you existed? What's going to be different because you walked the earth? What's going to be different because you walked into the room? Because life is nothing if you don't live out your true higher purpose. Life is nothing if you don't speak your truth. Even when you're nervous, you're supposed to still speak your truth. Because anytime you have anxiety, that is just the urge to rush the future and to escape this present moment. But the past, the future, and the present is all happening right now in this second. Hold on, y'all. I gotta put this piece in. I'm a pescatarian, so I can only eat cheese pieces. So, but yeah, no matter what took place in your past, like as a young kid, I feel like I ain't get that much emotional support. So therefore I took out a lot of things on the world, in relationships, on females, on other people in general. Like, I ain't have my father in my life. So not having your father there and not having that certain emotional support, when I got into relationships, I would have multiple different girls at once, but that's only because I was trying to fill a void. I was trying to make up for that lacking, for that missing piece. So like, for example, it's like you trying to put all these keys up in a doorknob, but every time you do it, you got the wrong key. So I'm using all these different females, all these different outlets, money, clothes, all these different things outside of me to fill this void, the bridge this gap. But it was all just the wrong thing, Like, even when I was younger, some parents, they have your best interest at heart, and they have great intent, but they may suffer from a lack of self-love. So therefore they may not be thinking about you needing self-love or motivational positive thoughts, because they not giving it to themselves. So how could we expect them to give it to us? So a lot of, like, most of the years, most of my time throughout life, I blame my OG, I blame my moms for not being there for me, for not giving me a certain level of support. But I had to realize, and not just understand, but understand that she was going through something. because in society, as a black man and as a black woman, the woman usually has to take over the take on a man's role. So therefore she has to work, therefore she has to be more masculine in a sense in her approach to certain things in life. And when you go to school, you don't really learn nothing about self-development, self-love. So therefore you go throughout life and you get consumed into all of these different distractions coming from every different direction. The TV, different foods, different conversation, and just so many different things to distract you, to keep you away from your inner goddess or from your inner God. So me understanding that at the age of 22 or at the age of 18, because I'm 22 right now, but when I was 18 I realized exactly that, and I had to apologize to myself and apologize to her, because a lot of times when we make mistakes we beat ourselves up. So I had to forgive myself and no longer punish myself, because the worst thing we can do is criticize ourselves negatively and say, and hold something from the past and bring that into our future present. But you are not your past, you are not your mistakes. Like, for example, when a parent have a child, right, that child may end up doing bad things, and the parent may say things like, you a bad boy or you a bad girl. But now what that is doing is identifying the child behavior or mistakes with who they are as a person. When in true actuality, you supposed to say things such as, you a good boy, you a good girl, why are you doing bad things? So everything that you say, you're planting a seed into their subconscious. So they're gonna grow up and think and demonstrate that seed that you have planted, that they a bad boy and that they a bad girl, but they are not their mistakes. So we should say things such as, like I just said, you a good girl, you a good boy, why are you doing bad things? So as they grow older, they captivate, a different mindset of who they are, and they're able to see themselves as a good boy and a good girl, and not as that bad boy, that bad girl, just from what you embed into their psyche, because your body is a thought reactive system. So your cells react to your thoughts. So what you are thinking, you are becoming. And the mind works on patterns. The mind works on habit. So the more and more something is repeated, the more and more psychologically you become accustomed to that which is repeated constantly. So for example, if you constantly hear a song that you don't like, you may hear it so many times whereas in the beginning you would just cut it off, turn off the radio. But after a long while, you'd heard the song so many times that you don't even cut it off as quick. You forget that it's even on. Or just like if you keep eating something, you eating your favorite candy, but you eat so many of them that after a while you don't taste it no more, or you don't taste the greatness of it no more. So the more and more we tell ourselves positive things, or we tell our kids positive things, the more and more they will be used to that kind of mindset and habit of thinking, because your intake becomes your outtake. So I tell females, like, okay, if your guy constantly listen to music, whereas the music is always saying don't trust a female, never wife a itch, then he's gonna follow that thought pattern, because all he listening to is don't trust a girl. I don't wanna say the B word. So all he's listening to is don't trust a female, don't wife her. So therefore you're gonna wonder why your guy isn't faithful. But if you look at his habit, if you listen to what he constantly listen to, it says a lot about his character. So once again, the more and more something is repeated, the more and more psychologically you become accustomed to that which is repeated constantly. So make sure you set yourself around people that's constantly telling you positive things, or their conversation is highly intellectual, because eagles don't fly with pigeons. If you hanging around 6 broke people, you will become the 7th. Don't be $1 million thinker around $100 thinkers. So environment, your DNA reacts to your environment. Your self-image is a product of your environment, your consistent environment between the age of 1 to 7 on up throughout your whole life. You are the product of what was put into you at a young age, even all the way into now. But always make sure that you love yourself. You be the master of your self-love. You master your mental perception of yourself. You provide yourself with self-loving, motivational thoughts on a day-to-day basis, because you must know why you feel the way you feel and think the thoughts that you think. Let's see.